You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? It is Ryan, and it is awesome to be with you today. I'm getting ready to introduce you to two amazing humans from a company called CallRail. We're going to learn more what CallRail is in a second. Masami is a marketing exec and a strategist for 25 plus years of experience driving marketing and sales success for organizations anywhere from 10 million to 7 billion in revenue. Her background includes a blend of B2B marketing leadership, strategy consulting roles, and she's recently taken on the role of Chief Marketing Officer at CallRail. Jason Tatum, he is the Vice President of Product at CallRail. The guy is a wizard. He has a professional experience that spans the nonprofit, publicly traded, and private startup tech sectors. He has over 7 years at CallRail and a lead intelligence platform that helps business markets with confidence. He has spearheaded several launches of its form tracking and its lead center solutions, and right now, he leads a team to build innovative solutions of next-gen business owners and marketers. This is a really fascinating conversation where we talk about all kinds of things, but especially how the advent of AI can help you get more value out of your customer transactions now, make more money, and hopefully reclaim some of your time back. Let's get going. All right, guys, I am really glad to get both of you on the show today. So it's really cool to be able to have like two voices states away. But for those who maybe yet don't know who you guys are, or maybe even CallRail, let's maybe start with there. So Masami, I'll start with you. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. So my name is Masami Middleton, and I'm, I guess, the marketing voice on this call, while Jason is the product voice. But I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at CallRail. And for those that may not know who CallRail is, basically, our mission is to help our business customers turn more leads into better customers. And so we do that through a lead intelligence platform that we have, has some really interesting core solutions like call tracking, form tracking, and conversation intelligence. And all this is about making sure that your marketing efforts are driving your best leads, picking the right channels, the right ads, the right campaigns that are driving your best leads. And then in addition to that, making sure that those leads and specifically the calls are being handled in a way that turns those leads into bookings or customers, whatever your business is aiming for in terms of a call outcome. So we've been around for a while. We've been around since 2011. We've got more than 200,000 customers. A good chunk of those customers are in the home services arena. So we're really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, and I'm glad to have you guys on because at Leveragee, obviously we're partners with CallRail. So almost every single one of our accounts, we recommend CallRail to because it's a great platform, great product. So Jason, who are you? What's your background?
Yeah, I'm Jason Tatum. Almost everybody calls me by my last name. I'm that kind of person. I'm a last name person. I'm from Atlanta. I grew up here, raised my family right here in the middle of town. Lived here almost my whole life. I came to CallRail about almost 7 years ago. I was the first external product person that was hired as a lowly first-time product owner. And now I'm the VP of product management. So in that time, I've worked on pretty much anything and everything in our platform, all the way from redesigning how our attribution systems work to launching our full voice communications product and basically everything in between, even API integrations, the whole gamut. So I really enjoy the intersection of technology and particularly like the what I call like the Main Street business or the local business. I get very excited to find ways to gain people time in their day to day. As a father of two small children, I crave time, and so trying to find ways that use technology to create time for other working people is sort of my mission.
Dude, that's awesome. So I'm curious. So obviously, the people listening right now, almost everyone I think is a home service company. We have HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We have remodel guys I know listen. We have pest control. We have guys who do asphalt. So it runs the gamut. And I'm always surprised when I talk to people in different sort of environments, especially if they aren't super sophisticated yet. They maybe haven't crested like a $3 or $5 million a year threshold. Of how many people, when I ask like, where do most of your calls come from? Most of them have a hard time answering that with any amount of specificity. They're like, I don't know. Like we have our phone number on our trucks. Like it's some sort of like really vague, ambiguous thing. So Masami, I'm curious from your perspective, before we get into like the cool technology, the intelligence, the attribution, like all the stuff that actually makes the thing valuable. Why is it important for a home services company specifically to understand where their calls are sourcing from? Like at its core, like why is that an important piece of information for companies to be aware of?
That's right. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's basically about knowing what's working and dialing that up, and knowing what's not working and dialing that down. And you could be a small business that doesn't have a lot of marketing dollars, or you could be a really large one that is investing in marketing in an up economy or a down economy. It doesn't matter. It runs the gamut. But the same question should be asked, which is, where are my best leads coming from? And are we turning those leads into bookings and invoices? And so for a small business, a lot of this is just it could be free advertising sources. It could be a truck wrap. It could be a sticker on a plumber, a water heater or a furnace, right? Or it could be something paid like a billboard, Google ads, radio advertising. Any of those physical or offline or online sources, there are ways to track it. And we know that a lot of the revenue comes from inbound calls, but sadly those calls often are where attribution breaks, right? Especially when you're thinking about the digital world, there's usually a clean way of attributing what sources are driving what leads. But I think a lot of people have this misperception that, well, calls is just not possible. Absolutely, it's possible, right? And that's what CallRail is all about, which is making it easy and very accessible, whether you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, small business, accessible pricing, easy to use solution that allows you to quickly see of all the phone numbers that are out there. As long as you assign a unique number to the different sources, what are those sources driving, right? And where should I be investing my time and my money to make sure I get more of that?
And I think that was beautifully said. It's almost like you do this for a living. Because I think I'm sometimes surprised when people, actually someone emailed me the other day of, hey, if somebody, I think the question was like, if they call from AdWords, right? So they pay for the ad, they have an AdWords number that's sourced from CallRail, and then they save that number. And so they call it, they book the call, and then they save that number to their contacts on their phone. If they call it again, will they be paying for that phone call again? Like, is it re-triggering AdWords? So I'm curious for you, Jason, like, to what degree is there confusion or like black voodoo magic smokescreens for a lot of people when they try to understand how attribution works, how any sort of the causality, like how reliable is attribution, and what sort of misinformation do you often find that people struggle when they're trying to understand how that works?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot of different angles to take on that. I do think that we're constantly overcoming some of like confusions or objections, or often we'll talk to business owners that are wanting it to be harder than it is. And we've done a lot of the hard work behind the scenes to make it look easy. It's actually not that easy to do, but we've been at it a long time. And so the first thing is that you're not repaying for the ad. Like, you're not repaying for the click if you dial the phone number. Basically, for not to go into like the deep weeds of how it works, we have a very lightweight piece of code that goes on a website, and for a lot of businesses that you don't even have to interact with the code. If you have a WordPress site, it's like a click of a button. It takes about 10 seconds to install. And what we're able to do with that is basically understand where this click is coming from, right? And so we're able to capture the unique identifier of the ad, be able to understand the refer, all those things, the UTM parameters, whatever is in the URL, those types of things, and then be able to track that session. And once we know the session, like once we know that somebody's there, then and we have like, okay, we know that they came through Google Ads, and with this GLC ID, which is Google's unique identifier, we're able to talk to Google and get more data from that. But at the end of the day, once you're on the site and we have that session data, like that's it. We don't have anything. Google is not uh, uh, following along in that way, right? To continue to charge later on. They don't have anything to do with the phone number itself. And so the nice thing with our technology is that we assign you a phone number based on based on your session, and then when you come back, we'll give you that same phone number on the website so that you have the same phone number that shows every time, so you have that consistency. And that's it. We kind of take it from there and are able to build a user journey from that first click.
And it really is a seamless, I mean, from install to like what the customer experience is. Like I've always found CallRail to be really simple to set up, really almost frictionless for the customer. It's so easy. And there's options of like, if there's even like if none of these rules or criteria match, like here's still a pass-through phone number that you can set up so that no matter what, that call is going to come through. And I'm curious too, and I'm curious to get more into the intelligence and kind of the attribution that actually identifies the value of the customer. But before we do, one of the things that comes up, and I feel like it's becoming more and more common lately with big like FSMs like Service Titan, where they're releasing products where they're essentially doing a dynamic number insertion, like a DNI sort of platform, pulls it in, and then they're actually now able to assign revenue to a Google Click ID, right? So now they're actually say, hey, this specific customer, you're able to net this much revenue, so that if you're on the Service Titan platform, like you're able to go in and you're able to correlate now, not just how much you spent and what's the source of the phone call or the source of the lead, but now you can actually do like, hey, this particular lead netted us 20K in revenue. And now you can actually start doing ROI calcs based on specific keywords, specific campaigns. Is that sort of functionality? And I know, again, I'm trying to take a kind of a complicated technical path and like make it into a simple thing. I understand that that's really important for a lot of customers, a lot of home service companies to attribute revenue and cost, right? So they can actually see what's making the most money. Is there a way that easy to apply way that a lot of companies can actually get that sort of insight back using just CallRail's platform, or does it really need to be tied into an FSM of some capability?
Yeah. So the thing with Service Titan is a great product, a great service. And the thing that's great with them is that if you're all in on Service Titan, then a lot of things are a lot easier, right? Like if you've bought completely into the Service Titan model, then it's easy to tie the revenue in, right? Because it's all the same, right? It's all on the Service Titan platform.
Right.
So what we did, not a few years ago was figured out how we could, like with a click of a button through your Google Ads, your Meta, and your Microsoft Ads, integrate all of your interactions. So through calls, text, forms, and be able to like instantly assign a cost per lead, starting at the keyword level, starting at the source level, down to the campaign, down to ad group. We can do it by ad, we can do it by keyword, and we do it all instantly. And so the cost per lead aspect was one thing that like we really zeroed in on. And the thing that was unique and fun and challenging about that is, okay, what we got to do is go to each of these ad networks and figure out exactly how to pull that data in based on their APIs and how they work. And they're not the same, right? Especially Meta. But with ROI is a lot trickier to just pull in and from like a one size fits all approach, because how you define revenue is very different per different place, right? And so So we did some of that with HubSpot and experimented with it. Um, and so what we do today, right, is that we're really good at integrating with the tools that you use to send that data that we have out to like your CRM or your Service Titan or other programs like that. But I think in the near term, um, we're really interested in like how can we like build more deeper integrations with the Service Titan so that the things that CallRail can do uniquely well, and that's going to be a lot harder for another service like that to do. How can we like combine our powers and get that data a lot faster and a lot easier?
Which is actually a really great point, because what Carl does really, really well, like it's going to be very hard for any other company to kind of imitate. Which I guess brings us to Masami, your kind of like focus on getting this actionable sort of intelligence. And I know AI is a big buzzword for a lot of people lately. When you say like, hey, we want to take this data that CallRail has and use it to help companies find the best customers, the most profitable jobs. Tell us a bit about like the platform, about like what's possible, about what sort of benefit companies would have by leveraging some of these features that you guys have been rolling out.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of people, when they think of call tracking, especially those that are familiar, are thinking about what we just described, which is where is the lead coming from? What source is driving the phone call? But when we talk about call tracking, it's also tracking the call itself. In other words, how is the CSR engaging? What are they saying? What words are the customers using to describe their pain, describe their problem, those kinds of things? Basically, calls are a gold mine of insights, but the problem is the insights are trapped in the call. And unless you have something like CallRail, you're not able to pull out those insights because there's so much richness in knowing what the buyer needs, knowing what the homeowner is plagued with, knowing the buyer intent, knowing their sentiment, their emotion. There's just so much that's inside the call. And no human being or no business owner has the time to sit there and listen to phone calls with the CSRs. Or if you're transcribing or recording calls, nobody has time to actually read all the transcripts or listen to all the recordings. That would be ridiculous, right? No human can do that. So our conversation intelligence is all about solving that problem and allowing you some super, super quick insights on how people are engaging. Is this CSR engaging in the right way? The call sentiment, which is part of our newest premium conversation intelligence package, is particularly exciting in that you can see positive, negative, or neutral. How is the call, right? In one glance. And then in a 2 to 5 sentence summary, what is the essence of this call without me having to actually listen to it, right? And we will continue to do the keyword spotting that allows you to know which keywords are being used, and therefore how can we match that to our bidding and keyword strategies on the front end from a Google Ads perspective. But all of these insights, again, are locked in the call. And unless you have a solution like ours, and we like to tag it, voice first AI, where we have near human level accuracy in the way we transcribe calls. And it all starts with that accurate transcription that then drives our ability to summarize, to keyword spot, to capture the sentiment, all those kinds of things that a owner wants to see, right? Because the owner or the frontline team manager doesn't want to have to sit there and spend the hours. They want to be able to capture the essence and then take action, whether that be call coaching or feeding it back to the marketing team or the agency team to say, hey, we need more of these, or these sources are working. It's a feedback loop, right? It's a really powerful feedback loop that starts with call insights. Tatum, I'm sure I'm missing.
No, you're great. I was just gonna say it'd be hilarious if somebody imagine going on a news fast for like 3 months and then turning it back on and getting caught up and realizing that the world changed overnight. Essentially, like we are in a whole new frontier of like there's a lot of talk about AI in the last forever, right? Like Watson, IBM's been going around with Watson for 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. And like there's a reason why it hasn't changed the world up until this point, right? And now we've reached a real tipping point where what you're going to see, listeners of this podcast, what you're going to see in the next 12, 18, 24 months is a proliferation of attempts at making novel and useful application of this technology. And some are going to, some are not going to work. Some are going to be not there yet. Some are going to be irresponsible and outright dangerous, and some are going to be committed to being good partners and good stewards of a lot of data. And I think that's where CallRail and our commitment is from the technology side, is we want to be your trusted partner in utilizing and applying something that is kind of revolutionary in terms of how it's going to unlock your time. It's going to unlock insights that are much harder to get. It's going to hopefully free up room and revenue to do more of the things that you love, and less of the things that cause pain. That's going to be what we're going to focus on in the next forever, pretty much.
No, and I think you raise a lot of good points. Although I got to be honest, I always kind of balk when people are like, "Hey, all this technology is going to give back time," because it reminds me of like the microwave in the 40s and 50s. Like, people are like, "Hey, we're gonna have a microwave. You don't have to spend all your time like cooking a chicken." And like, yeah, we just fill that time doing other stuff. Like, we have no more net time. It's just we waste it in other ways. But I think your point though is still valid, and I love the idea of like even the ethics of like how companies and consumers are going to manage and steward this. Like, I don't think people are aware of just exactly how much data this AI revolution is going to start spewing out, and all the different ways that data can be leveraged for positive or for negative intent. And because right now, and Masami, I guess to be the bridge for you too, it's historically, most companies would be able to do really crude KPIs on like a CSR metric, right? They'd be like, cool, they received X many calls, they booked X percentage. And it's just like a booking rate. And it's just, it's a ratio, right? Two numbers compared to each other. But by leveraging this sort of technology, what you're able to do is actually not just go, what is the booking rate, but how well does a customer engage with different types of customers? Or there's certain aspects of customers that make them more desirable or less desirable. You're getting into like the nuance of understanding relationships between things and not just ratios between things. And that is a fundamental game changer that I don't think most people are aware of how it's going to play out and shake out. I'm really kind of curious, a little bit nervous, honestly, of what's possible, but it's really crazy. If do you have any stories of companies who and I know this sort of like intelligence feature, it's relatively new for CallRail, but do you have any examples? So I guess I'm saying like a lot of the people probably on the platform are early adopters at this point. People who like being cutting edge, they like kind of like working through things new. Do you have any like anecdotal feedback from like before and after of companies who did not have this sort of insight, but then once they had this insight, the impact that had on their business?
Yeah, just to clarify, this is not new to us. We've had conversation intelligence since 2016 and have been using AI since that time. So we're several years into it, and we have many, many customers that are using it. So it's kind of funny because we actually have the term conversation intelligence trademarked because we've been thinking about it and doing it for so long. And in the meantime, you've got multiple analysts and other solution providers that have just latched on to the phrase conversation intelligence, where we're kind of laughing because we've been doing it for so long. But to answer your question, our customers for years have been using the intelligence from the call data, right, to really understand, okay, how do we use the data and automatically or set up rules to qualify, to score, to make sure that these things are triggering the right actions? We take a very pragmatic approach to AI. And I liked, Jason, that you used the term novel, because I think a lot of the applications that we're seeing and hearing and all the buzzword around it is focused on novel use cases, but how practical is that to, for example, a small plumbing business, right? And I think a lot of small plumbing businesses might say, hey, this is not relevant to me. This is still just buzzword mumbo jumbo. But it absolutely is. Our goal is to democratize these kinds of solutions and these kinds of capabilities and make it accessible to the small guys as well as the big guys, right? So our businesses or our customers are regularly using that AI, the conversation intelligence, to again feed back to their advertising, their paid advertising campaigns, and make sure that we're telling those channels what are the qualified leads. Send more of those, send less of the others, right? If that's an example. Another example is based on tags or things that we see in the intelligence. Make sure that lead follow-up is you're all over the lead follow-up, based on things that you see in the leads that are coming in. Make sure that you're assigning the right person to the lead for follow-up, or if you're not able to answer the phone, make sure that you're sending an automated text to tell the consumer, hey, we're going to get right back to you. And then in the meantime, set a notification to your phone or to your Slack or whatever your channel of choice is. We will send that notification to make sure that you can follow up in an instant, because we know that, conversion rates skyrocket 8 times when you can respond in 5 minutes. So we're all about those kinds of automations, which are super pragmatic, super practical, to make sure that you're turning leads into customers. That's our goal, is to help you do that, whatever it takes.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like somebody that comes to you for your services is like the best, like is going to be one of the best leads, right? They're high intent. And one of the things that's unique about CallRail, and I'm not trying to oversell CallRail, but one of the things that's unique and a difference maker, I think, in call tracking versus like a full lead attribution platform like CallRail, is that we're able to track the whole lead's journey, regardless if they came through a form first, if they saw a Google ad and landed on your site and they filled out a form and then they made a phone call later. All of that we're able to stitch together. And when you combine that with the power of conversation intelligence, to where no longer do I need to review each and every form, no longer do I need to review each and every phone call, figure out what drove what, and then categorize which ones were actually the most valuable or the ones that I need to follow the fastest. We can take the keywords that they say in the phone call or in the form and instantly categorize your basically your to-do list. So that takes away all of that, and you can focus on winning the conversation. I think that especially since 2020, we've all had. I would bet that we've all had the experience of, I really want to give someone my money. I've gone and I filled out a form. And a lot of this is because, business exploded in a lot of ways in home services. But I filled out a form or whatever, and it's like a black hole and it never comes back, right? And I was a good lead. I was a high intent lead. And so how do you make sure that like you don't lose those? How do we make sure that you have the time back to fill it? You're going to fill it, Ryan, but like hopefully you're filling it with training, new help to get out there and expand the business, right? CallRail does have now, and it's going to continue to build out. I'm so excited. There's a product person's mind is that I'm thinking about like what we're doing in like 18 months, right? Like I'm already living in 2024, and it's the combination of knowing what attracted those best leads, making sure that you don't lose them, right? And that they actually get engaged before they go to the next person in the Google result. And then making sure that you have the tools to optimize to attract more of those good quality high intent leads is like the name of the game for us.
Yeah. If somebody is curious to talk to someone at CallRail, book a demo, something along those lines to learn more about the platform as a whole, but even to see the impact that conversation intelligence could have for them, even if they're a current CallRail customer, what's the best way for somebody to take that next step?
The easiest way is to go to callrail.com if you've never heard of us or haven't tried our solution. And the bar is, there is no bar to start. It's basically a free trial, 14-day free trial, where you can go ahead and set up a few numbers and instantly on your dashboard start to see what kind of calls and what kind of quality leads are coming in through those sources. And we will have account managers hand-holding new free trial customers to just help them set it up in case they have any questions. It's very easy to use, but we will still handhold people through that process to make sure that they're satisfied, they're getting early insights, quick wins. And then from there, after 14 days, starting at $40 a month, if you sign up for an annual plan, you can start the call tracking, and then the conversation intelligence, the form tracking are additional to that, but very accessible price points for businesses in home services.
Yeah. And what you're really going to want to try is the premium conversation intelligence. That is the thing that we did just release. And just give yourself the joy of recording a phone call, doing a phone call, seeing exactly what source drove it, having it instantly almost perfectly transcribed, and then seeing a summarization within 20 seconds of the call ending, a summarization in about 3 to 5 sentences that perfectly concisely summarizes what the whole phone call was about. And just seeing that magic happen is it's worth a free trial for sure.
Well said. Masami, Tatum, I know you guys are crazy busy. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. It's great having both of you guys on, but we'll definitely make sure callworld.com is in the show notes so people can check this out for themselves. Yeah, it's great to have you both on.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Ryan.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Levergy, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at BlueCollar.CEO and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.